Hello, everyone. Okay, we're gonna do this one more again. We're gonna see, make sure everything's in order. So we're actually live already on YouTube, and we're live, or we're recording on Zoom. So good evening, everyone. This is attorney Robyn McCoy with Robyn Legal, and we have our honored guest today, the Honorable Minister Troy Muhammad. And so welcome, Minister Troy, or do you want me to call you Minister Muhammad? Like, you have a preference?
Troy is just fine.
Okay, and I've known you for a number of years. I'm trying to think. I know we had done a panel together, and I've been on your radio show, coming in talking about expungements and what to do when stopped by the police. I know you have your radio show. It's 10 a.m. You come on every Sunday to spread the knowledge for the people. And I'm going to go into some of your stuff. I'll start with your bio, and then I'll ask you some questions. Let's see. Okay, so for the audience, let's start. Minister Troy Muhammad was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. He attended both Redford and Murray Wright high schools. He was raised in West Detroit, so shout out to the West Side, and found himself in a lot of trouble in his teen years. Before he was 18 years old, he had been shot 9 times in 2 different incidents and found himself in prison with a 25 to 50 year sentence at 18 years of age. I've had, as the audience knows, I've represented clients. I've had some youth that have gone through some things as well. It was at this point that Minister Troy began to turn his life around. He's started studying the teachings of the Nation of Islam while in prison. He became a model citizen, gaining different trades as well as an associate's degree while in prison. He fought for his freedom and had his sentence overturned, being released after serving 13 years. Since his release, he has worked to build the community that he helped damage. He has employed over 300 returning citizens through his managing position at Midwestern Sanitation. He has worked in the Nation of Islam's prison ministry, helping returning citizens with clothing, housing, and getting a foundation upon their return. That's very important. Reentry is significant. He has worked with numerous organizations around Detroit to help troubled youth. He has served as the local representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for 8 years and leading Mosque Number 1. Attorney Ed Taylor and I were honored to be out there for the opening event for that. Minister Troy has also been helping to feed the community, stop violence in the community, and lift the community spiritually. And he's totally involved. And I had mentioned earlier, as you can hear him on 9:10 a.m. at 10 o'clock on Sundays and be seen on WHPR TV 33. So again, welcome, 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 Minister Troy. And so the first question I want to ask you, because I know that folks in our audience would be curious, is what brought you to the Nation of Islam?
Well, first, let me thank you for inviting me for this interview on your show. I appreciate you. I appreciate the energy you always bring, and I appreciate the sincerity that you approach the legal system with. It's a sincerity that, unfortunately, we don't see as much amongst our attorneys or those in the legal field, but you've maintained your passion and a desire for justice. So I really applaud that and appreciate you and the work that you do and the family that you come from. Concerning and the Nation of Islam, I think that, oftentimes, I heard it said that as Black people in particular, we operate in this society as though we have a pillow over our heads. So everything that we do is like we're fighting for survival, fighting to stay alive. We don't really have time to sit down, to analyze, to weigh, to focus, because it's from one thing to the next. I got to pay these bills. I got to go to work. I got to make this happen. I got to make that happen. And it's not true of all Black people, but in general, you're going through life and it's like you're pressed from moment to moment. And unfortunately, it's only when you get opportunities to sit down. And in my case, it was a prison cell where I was able to sit down and kind of weigh everything that had happened to me and weigh everything around me and ask myself questions about this and questions about that.
Okay.
Life from a different perspective than just the day-to-day, get up, go to a job, 5 days a week, get a paycheck, then start the whole process over the next week. That prison cell gave me the opportunity to sit down and kind of analyze and look at things and really look at my life and where it had led me. So,
Okay.
This teaching was presented, it was at the right time. I don't think that, it speaks towards a lack in any other teaching, but I think that at the time that something is given to you, is very vital and very important. So at the time, I'm in a cell, I'm reading books about a Malcolm X, a man who was also in a cell, and how this man came out of the cell by turning his life around. So everything just happened for me at the right time. And that's when I grabbed hold of these teachings. I was able to see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on the Donahue Show. And I saw a Black man speaking and teaching in a way I'd never seen and heard anybody before.
Okay.
Coming from Detroit 1980s, where you were made strong based upon a gang or the crew that you were in, or you got a gun or that type of power. In Minister Farrakhan, I saw power in words. And it was, I really, witnessed this, and it just made me want more and more and understand more and more about what he had learned and what he was bringing. So everything happened at the right time, Robyn.
Right. I think that definitely, as a spiritual person, I've definitely believed that I believe in fate. And, I've talked before with you about how in my family, my parents were very Afrocentric. So in our home, we were reading Afrocentric books. We were listening to, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. We listened to Farrakhan. And we listened to Jeremiah. We went to see Jeremiah Wright, and I went to see Farrakhan when I was in college for Savior's Day and University of Chicago. And then also saw him at, my sister and I went to see him at Joe Louis. And so our parents raised us to definitely seek that dynamic knowledge that is in the Black community. And they also said to us, take in the things that you agree with. What you don't agree with, we can have a debate about it. We can talk about these things. So, but they never censored us. They just said, go in and listen and get the knowledge. And, Black liberation theology doctrine, that was very strongly impressed upon us to make sure that we were firmly rooted in ourselves. And then they had me baptized Catholic, Pentecostal, AME. So I was like, they wanted to make sure I was covered on all facets. I had one grandfather that was Catholic, and then I had my dad, my father, my paternal grandfather was a Pentecostal minister, and then I have my dad's family. We have 4 Pentecostal ministers. And we still, Uncle Stevie and Uncle Calvin, who are still holding it down in the Pentecostal churches in Benton Harbor, Michigan. So, I think my parents were just they said it was very important to have that spirituality, have strength in spirituality, and also in knowledge of what Black excellence can be.
Right.
And yeah. And so I want to ask you, for our audience as well, is why do you think that the Nation of Islam is the best place to be for Black men, women, and children?
Well, I think that understanding yourself and having the knowledge of yourself is the best place for Black people. I think that the teachings of the Nation of Islam, based upon the knowledge of self. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I believe that the teaching of self-improvement being the base for community development, as put forward by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is the best place for Black people, because we can't go into Islam, we can't go into Christianity, we can't go into Catholicism, we can't go to any of the religions if we don't have a proper knowledge and understanding of who we are and how we fit in, or we become almost, say, I get involved in Islam, and instead of embracing Islam, which is submission to the will of God, I begin to embrace Arab culture. So you see a black man who now takes on the appearance of an Arab because he's not, knowledgeable of who he is, or the black Christian who loses himself in Christianity and he looks towards a white Jesus, a heaven on white clouds surrounded by pearly white gates, and by him looking at himself as black, he don't even see himself fitting into that type of theology. So I think that the teachings of the Nation of Islam, which teach us, as your parents taught you, a knowledge of yourself, who you are. Because once you understand who you are, then you know what your function is, you know what your role is, you know what your power and your potential is. And the Nation of Islam teaches us, the power isn't in anybody else's hands. A lot of people talk about us, with the teaching, the white man is the devil and all of these things like this. But the teachers of the Nation of Islam, we're taught that every white person on earth could die tomorrow and you still have a problem, because the problem is yourself. And until we learn and understand ourselves and learn to deal with ourselves, the problems that we face on a daily basis will continue to arise and arise and arise. So the self-improvement teachers of the Nation of Islam, I believe, are very important and necessary for not just Black people, but for every human being to have a knowledge of yourself, a knowledge of your power, a knowledge of your potential, a knowledge of what you have the ability to do. You're not the bottom. You're actually the top, because you as a human being have been created in the image and likeness of God. What better knowledge is it than that? You could be an attorney, you can be a doctor, but if somebody teaches you and describes to you how you are the one created in the image and likeness of God, then you begin to carry yourself different. You begin to walk different, talk different. You begin to treat your brother and sister who look like you different, because you would recognize God in them as God is also present in you. So it's a big teaching and it's a lot to talk about. And one day we'll continue on that part of this question. But, it's the knowledge of self teaching. I think all human beings.
When you talk about the white Jesus, so I had 12 years of Catholic school with white Jesus. So if you come to my house, sometimes you'll see in some of my videos, I got Black Jesus, okay? Because I'm a visual learner, so I had to have a Black Jesus. I'm like, people like, you got Black? Yes, I got Black Jesus up there. I have to have that. I was raised Afrocentric, Black Jesus. Most likely he was a person of color, probably a Black man. We can get into discussions. People talk about the Jews, the original Jews were Black and all that. So I had to have my Black Jesus. And then I will say this about Islam too, is, obviously we have, there's the pluses and minuses with Christianity. With Christianity, I believe all religions, I've studied about this, all religions started in Africa, and they took our stuff, repackaged it. So that's why we were able to recognize it when we were brought over here as slaves. But they took, so it's like we recognized it, but they also manipulated us with it. And then what I saw, what you see with Islam, like I've been to Senegal, I went there in 2001, and you see how the people there, the French enslaved the people there. And the Muslims were the ones that liberated the Black folks there, and they still preserve their Wolof culture. So you have this intersectionality. So like you'll be there and it's 5 times a day, they'll have the call to prayer. Most people there, they actually don't wear the iqab garb or the hijab, but they're Muslim, but they're still African. They have their Wolof, they speak French, they speak, Arabic, but they're Black, and I'm like, I think it's important that people understand they're obviously, for me, I feel my spirit chose to come as a Christian. I'm a Christian, but there's Christianity, there's Islam, there's Judaism. And as I said, I believe all the religions started in Africa. But when we get over here to America, they try to use it on us, Native Americans. They try to just basically take the Bible, manipulate us. Like you said, just think, oh, you got to just take and suck it up now and you'll have heaven on up above, and don't resist and don't fight your oppression. Just take it, and I know that, there's a struggle. There's struggle that folks have with some of those tenets of Christianity being taught.
Well, I mean, I think that, travel is very important, because when you travel the world, you begin to see, there's so many differences. There's billions of people on the planet. It's hundreds of thousands of different religions on the planet. So to think that your way is the only way. I remember hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that, if I'm a Christian, that means I follow Jesus the Christ. And
Okay.
Jesus submitted to the will of God.
Right. Black Jesus.
The word Muslim just means one who submits to the will of God. So if you look at the names like Christian, Muslim, Jehovah Witness, they all have righteous meanings behind the name, So I can clearly say to you, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jehovah Witness, I'm a Catholic. I won't allow titles to divide me from my brother and my sister who was trying to do right. Because if you look at the principles of most religions, all the principles, do good, fasting, belief in one God, righteousness, they all line up and they're all the same. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad one time said that we're not as smart as winos, because winos, they don't care what is written on the outside of the bottle, if it's Mad Dog 2020, Wild Irish Rose, Hennessy, Ciroc. They don't care about the title on the outside of the bottle, but they're concerned more so with the contents inside the bottle. Will this alcoholic drink get me to where I'm trying to go? And I think we as religious people have to look at the contents of the religion, not the title, but the contents, what's being taught to us, what's being given to us. Is it being given in a way that's helping us improve ourselves, make us help our communities out? These are the things that we have to look at, and these are the things that we have to weigh, especially going forward as a community.
Right. Yes. No, I definitely agree. And then I do want to ask you, how have you been coping during the pandemic, and how have folks, members of the Nation of Islam, been coping?
Well, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taken the pandemic very seriously.
Okay.
You may have been there, but the last lecture that he gave, the big public lecture, was at Cobo Hall, Cobo Arena. And the title of it was The Unraveling of a Nation. Okay. And right after he closed that lecture, we started seeing this COVID take advantage of our country, actually. Okay. He's taking it serious. He asked that we as members shelter in place, that we be very cautious, that we follow all the rules that were given or outlined by the government. Okay. At the same time, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. Right. So we continue to work. In Detroit, we continue to help some of our local politicians who some were, worried about going out into the community and getting PPE to different residents. We went out and we did it for them. We took PPE to the senior citizen facilities. We took it to the neighborhoods, working with different politicians, Sherry Gay Dagnogo.
Okay. Shout out to Sherry.
Yep, Stephanie Chang, and a few more who were able to acquire, Karen Whitsett. They were able to acquire different materials that the people needed at the time that nobody had their hands on. But we went out and we were the men who helped them deliver these much needed PPE supplies to our community. We also have worked with Forgotten Harvest and also Detroit Agency on Aging to pass our people every week. And we've been doing that ever since the pandemic started, and we haven't stopped. So the work continues. If you, at such a serious time as it's been, and nobody knew what was going on because we never faced anything like that, you still need people to help show light and help guide the way and help encourage you and help you feel strong during a time of not knowing. So we continue to work, dear sister, and that doesn't stop. We're still working to this day.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I know with Black Women Lawyers, we've been doing expungement events, mostly virtual. We have done some food drives with our one of our distinguished members, Judge Kamisha Gann out of Oakland County. We've done a couple of those where they're giving out food to the community and partnering with a nonprofit. So do you, I mean, we're still in the midst of the pandemic. I mean, I know some people are saying it looks like we're starting to come out, but do you have any tips for folks out there that are still struggling during the pandemic? Like what coping mechanisms? I mean, I've been in the Word. I was in Exodus. Now I'm in Leviticus. As I said, I watch my videos. I watch Farrakhan. I watch my videos. I watch my ministers. I watch Freddie Haynes, Bishop Boston McKenzie. I've been listening to you too. So I'm just, what do you have to give to people to just to help them to survive this? Because we're still going through.
But you still, of course, you still must be cautious. One thing that I do know as a fact, as a minister, I've done at this point, over the last 14 months, I've done, I think, 26 funerals.
Okay.
I have 3 to do just this week. So this virus is real and it hasn't gone anywhere. I know a family right now who all have contracted the virus. One is in the hospital. 2 are out, but they're, in serious condition. So the virus hasn't gone anywhere. It's just that the testing has gone down. And I know that because I've worked for an organization that runs a testing site, or a few testing sites. So I know that the testing is down. So it makes the numbers look as though they're lower. But the only thing that's lower is the testing. The virus is still out there, still present. And it's very suspicious to me. Not suspicious, but I understand that they're ignoring these things just so they can get an economy back going. And that is unfair to the American public. It's nothing wrong with opening up, but you should still tell the American public the truth. This virus is still present. People are still dying. People are still getting sick by it. So I would just remind people to stay cautious, stay, sanitizing your hands everywhere that you go, keeping your mask on at any big events or events in which you have to come in contact with people. And as you said, sister, stay in your scripture and stay in that word, because it's a very serious hour. And in this type of hour, if you go to sleep, you may not wake up. So
Right.
many the year off with us that are no longer with us. So many started last year off with us who are no longer with us. People who we wouldn't expect to be gone today. So we have to be courageous and we have to be cautious and continue to fight and be on our best when it comes to protecting ourselves against this unseen virus.
Yeah, I know it's been intense. I mean, I've had friends and family that it just seems like it just came upon them, and they were taken away very quickly. I've had a couple of my uncles that were ministers. Now, we don't know if that was COVID, but I'm just saying that's like 4. We have 4 ministers in our family. 2 were taken, 2 are left. And so we're just praying that everybody is strong. There's been the debate about the vaccine, who's going to take it. And, at first I was like, I'm gonna watch, I'm not taking it. And then I started having to be out for court and in live court. And I said, okay, I'm gonna pray on it, I'm gonna take it. But I've been taking my herbal remedies. I'm taking my, I take, it's like elderberry, zinc, vitamin D. I'm taking and then if I get real sick, like echinacea, my mom is like more holistic as a nurse. And she was saying at first, she was saying too, she's like, I'm not taking it. I'm gonna just, and then she just decided to take it, but we're still taking our herbal remedies because we know there are people that have gotten they took the vaccine, they still got sick. And so I know everybody has to make their own personal decision about what they're going to do. And pray on it. We got to pray because it's like God is here,
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan asked us not to take the vaccine, because these things have been fueled by money, a desire for money, and to rush to do something like this with the goal to get money, it's something that you have to weigh and look at. And what we've seen to bear witness is, it's affected different people in different ways. Some people seem that they haven't been affected by the vaccine. And to that, you say, thank God. But then others, I just had an aunt just this week who took the vaccine and got very sick after taking the vaccine. She went to the hospital and then she had a heart attack. That was the effect of the vaccine on her. Now, I can't say that's true for everybody because I know people who've taken it and who seem all right. but we have to be very cautious at how we approach things and how we allow things to just pop up. I read a quote on, I think it was Facebook or Instagram, where they said, well, if if the government was so concerned, why weren't they giving out free insulin and free high blood pressure medicine and other things that that the American public is going in debt trying to pay for over the years to protect their health? So all of a sudden this thing pops up and it's free, and they're giving out chicken sandwiches and marijuana joints if you take the vaccine. I mean, it's kind of, it's a strange approach that we're looking at.
And there are a lot of us. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's got to make their own personal decision. I have a cousin that has MS, and then I have a friend who had her cousin got the shot and then died right after that. So I just say, talk to your doctor, pray on it. Everybody's got to decide for themselves what's the best thing for them. I know that they talked in Florida, huh?
Right. That the cousin got the shot and died after that.
Right.
These are stories that aren't being told, and
right.
You have to wonder why these stories aren't being told, and it's just a strange time, and we just have to be very, very careful and very mindful, because it's serious. Life is, you don't get it back. You don't get it.
Right. And then you hear stories like on the news, they showed in Florida. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, and then you hear about Florida, how like all these wealthy people were flying into Florida, hurrying up to get the vaccine. And while you had poor Black communities that were not able to have, they were 25 miles away from the Publix. Like, so they didn't have transportation or viable to get there. And then I can tell you personally, when Attorney Ed Taylor, my partner, and I, when we were waiting in line at the TCF, there were some white people that cut in front of us. So that's why I was like, again, we have to evaluate it. I mean, you got some white people, they gonna steal, beg, borrow to get the vaccine. That's why I was like, again, at first I was like, I'm not gonna get it. I said, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be at the back of the line. But then I don't know. You got to pray on it, ask God for discernment on it. But I do want to ask you too, what tips do you have for our youth that are out there? Because there has been discussion too about how folks in general, but particularly the youth that are struggling with mental health issues, identity crisis in the midst of the pandemic.
Well, I mean, mental health issues have been, in not just our community, but in the world, based upon the teachings that we've received, based upon the movies that we watch, based upon the music that we listen to, based upon the experiences that we come in, it causes mental health issues. The education system not dealing with certain things causes mental health issues. So this is something that's been here, but we just haven't talked about it. We're just starting to talk about it over the last 5 or 6 years. But as an attorney, I'm pretty sure you've seen mental health issues since you've been in the practice, and your father probably could tell you the same thing.
Yes.
That, with our young people, you see such sad moments, but at the same time, you can see such great moments. When you look at a incident that just happened in Detroit where a young lady was killed at the gas station, by somebody shooting recklessly, and
okay.
the murders that's happening in our communities daily. But then you can look at a young man like, say, Jay or somebody like that who is being dynamic, or you can look at a LeBron who is being dynamic what he does. So you're seeing high glimpses and you're seeing low glimpses. And what I think we have to do as the older generation, I think we have to continue to teach them about themselves and who they are and their value. And we have to use our power the way that you use your power as an attorney. You work hard to help our young people. You work hard sincerely to defend our young people. You work hard to do other programs outside of your legal, your legal work to assist our young people. And I think all of us have that duty and that obligation if we want to see something better for any young people that are. I just say, man, you're great, you're beautiful, you're strong, you're the best. And you got to believe it about yourself. I think that's the main thing that's missing, or one of the main components that's missing in our educational system, because they're not taught. You can be taught about George Washington. You can be taught about Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. But if I don't teach you about yourself and who you are and what you bring to a table, man, it's all kind of just for naught, because then we set up our children to be almost idol worshipers and being in stands applauding people when they can also jump in the ring or be in the middle of the court themselves. So I think the whole teaching process has to change so that we can help our children become better.
Right. No, I agree. I feel blessed that my parents, they made sure to supplement my education. I was taking some Black history class. They made sure I did a Congolese dance. They were like, look, you going, because I went to predominantly white school. So they were like, you gonna get some Black lessons. I went to a Black camp. They were like, you gonna know, you're not gonna forget that you Black. Okay. They're like, they made, and I feel strengthened by had that experience. I think that's why it's important that we have Black colleges out there too, that so people can be just nurtured up in themselves so that they can go out there and have their genius expressed. And I also, I do workshops on what to do when stopped by the police. I've made some videos. Folks, you can check them out on the YouTube. But I want to talk to you because you got that wisdom as a Black man. You're a Black man. You've survived up to this point. So what particular tips do you have as a Black man on how to survive an encounter with the police?
Well, I working to change that. That every time my son leaves home in his car that I purchased for him, I worry. And that's a stress that parents shouldn't have to have. Right. It's a stress that, even I in a suit and tie, just like the brother that's on the corner right now, gold chains on, no shirt, we both can be pulled over. Right. And we murdered on the spot, and nobody held accountable for it, just because of our skin. So I want to change the whole narrative. That means, that whole system has to be torn down and reworked. The police have to be re-educated. I'm not one who, feels like getting rid of the police. I don't think that's part of the answer. Right. But I think better educated police should be that should be the challenge. As far as our young people go, I mean, it's just, you don't want people to just be docile.
Okay.
Every time it comes, you have to turn into some docile slave.
Right.
You don't want that. It's a whole process to be taught again. It begins with changing the mentality of our police department. The ministers always told us to be respectful, respect those in authority. There's no need to argue. If the guy pulls me over, I give him my ID, and it's no need for argument. They're gonna give you a ticket in most cases, and then you pull off. And if you want to argue the ticket, you have the ability to argue it at a later point. But it's no reason to get in an exchange on site. None of that. But again, we have to train the police so that anxiety isn't tied to any young Black people whenever they're pulled over. You know what I mean? Because that's where it starts at. Oh man, the police is behind me. Then an anxiety comes from that.
Right.
And then the response is sometimes based on that fear or that anxiety. So we have to first eliminate that mentality and what's happening to our young people. When we've seen it, the thing is, we're watching it on tape.
Right.
People are just being shot for no reason. No justification. And that would have me having that anxiety.
Right. No, I know it well. I know I've been stopped. I've had that anxiety. And there was a brother, because I had a friend that called me, said, every time I get stopped, I'm gonna call you. He called me a couple times when he got stopped by the police. And then I heard some brothers over the weekend, they are lawyers, they created an app where you can pull them up on the app and they have a 24-hour lawyer. So I'm like, that's what we need in the Black community. We need to have there you can get a dash cam, but have it on your car. All you got to do, maybe it's automatic when the police show up, or a button, and have a lawyer right there watching everything that happens. That's the only thing. I'm like, we need to have that everywhere in America,
But that's what their cam, that's what the data is supposed to be. That's what the body be. But too many times the body cam is cut off. Too many times things are left up to another interpretation. So it's just unfortunate what we're seeing amongst our law enforcement today. I feel blessed that in Detroit, I believe because of Coleman Young and some of the changes made early on, that we don't see the same type of instances here in Detroit as we're seeing around the country. But,
right.
Still, whenever something across the country and Detroit police leadership don't stand up and condemn it, then they're just as guilty. So, it's something that we have to look at and something we have to work to change. And it also unfortunately calls for us as parents to teach our children in a separate way. Hey, this is how you deal. You show respect to the authority. You do the things that they ask you to do, and we go from there. But that lawyer cam would be a great idea.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I know I said what I tell kids: comply now, complain later. It's not the time to get in no argument. Comply now. I want to live to hear your story. I want you to live to hear your story, to tell me your story, tell your parents. This is not the time to get in an argument and be all adversarial. No, could you get more milk with honey? You get more bees with honey. So it's respect your parents, respect your teacher, respect the police. If they start cutting up, get their name and the badge number and report them to,
and I guess that's the thing, because the video white people the same thing, you know what I mean?
Know.
And nothing happens to them. So
I know, we're in a caste system. It's not the same. I mean, people be thinking you white. Like, nope, you're not white. We in America. It's a caste system. Maybe that'll be there someday, but not right now. I also want to ask you, because I was pretty saddened to see what was happening in Israel with the Palestinians and the Israelis. And what are your thoughts about that? Because America puts in I think the last numbers I saw, like 3 billion goes into Israel. While we here in America, we built this country, we ain't got our reparations, but we putting money over into Israel for them to go and do stuff against the Palestinians. And I'm like, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, you said it all. To be in a country that is sent almost what you can call a welfare check to Israel, and to not show concern for the Black man, woman, and child whose foreparents were used to build the wealth of this country. It's not just that we were, our people were taken as slaves, but those slaves were used to build the wealth that we see in the country today. It was built on the backs of our foreparents. So, man, we're owed some type of repair. I don't know what form it should come in, but repair is definitely owed to us. And to, send this money, billions of dollars every year to Israel, is a slap in our face. And then you look at the politicians, all of our politicians, there's very few who don't vote to send that money to Israel every year. And then for Israel to be, to perform this, what we can call, I guess in legal terms, a home invasion, where they went and took land from Palestinians unjustly, saying that God gave them the land. Man, I wish we had the ability to just say God gave us whatever we wanted, and then, people enforce that. But they're saying God gave us this land and it's ours, so they took it from the Palestinians. And they continue to kill, to murder, to maim Palestinian men, women, and children, innocent men, women, and children. And by America continuing to send money and our leadership continuing to vote for this money to be sent, it makes them partners in crime, co-conspirators. So it's a terrible thing that's happening in Palestine with the Palestinian people. It's a terrible thing also that what has happened in our country right here with the Native Americans. It's terrible to not allow our Hispanic brothers and sisters placement in the United States when everybody over here came from somewhere else. It's unjust of what we're seeing concerning Black people in the American ghettos. So this whole system is unjust, and the whole system needs to be torn down.
Right, and I try to understand, like, I look at the parallels, like with the Irish and the Scottish were oppressed by the English, and I've taken classes on it. My background's cultural anthropology. And then we know with the history of Jewish folk were oppressed and had a genocide committed upon them by the Germans and the Nazis. But then you have folks going into Israel oppressing the Palestinians, just like you had Irish and Scottish becoming slave owners, coming over here. They're oppressed in Europe, come over here. They bring us into slavery. I mean, McCoy, my name is a Scotch-Irish name. My 5th generation grandfather was a slave. He was freed at the age of 13. There's a homestead in North Carolina. And so I'm trying to understand it. And then when I look at the history with religion and like Jewish folk and the Arab folk, it's like, y'all cousins anyway, why y'all fighting? And then, everything started in Africa. Everybody's a depigment. I mean, some of us have pigment, but there's other folks that are depigment in Africa. We all brothers and sisters. And it's like, for us to be having all this animosity, and then you're seeing, Jewish folk here being attacked in America, that's not the way to answer the problem, to be, coming after Jewish folk here in America. And and then Asian, because of Trump and his insanity, Asian people got worried about being oppressed. But then again, Black folk, Black and brown, it's like we're every day oppressed. We just oppressed before the pandemic, oppressed during the pandemic. It's a constant oppression. But we go and talk about other countries.
We're professional oppressed people because we're oppressed by all of the oppressors, and we've endured it. And as Black people, I remember hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that God is using us and he's shaping us to be the new world rulers. He said, being that you've been at the brunt of racism, it's going to cause you not to be racist. You know what I mean? Because you know how it feels. You know how it hurts. You know how it feels to be denied based upon your color. So you're not going to do that to other people. And we haven't done that. Right. On every line, fighting for every people, fighting for every justice. We fight for women's rights. You see us in fight Asian hate, something that I have never witnessed. You know what I mean? We've always been fans and supported the Asian cause. You know what I mean? It's always been in our community. And I've never, in my 50 years, I've never seen Asian hate, in our community. I've never seen Jewish hate. So, I think a lot of these things are made up, compared to what we go through every day. I can't tell a Jewish guy from the average white guy. You know what I mean? Because Judaism is a religion. It's not a race. You know what I mean? Sammy Davis was a Jew, when you look at it like that, but it's a religion. It's not a race. So, to say Jewish hate, well, how would I know?
Well, you have some folks that wear yarmulkes, and then they can clearly see that they're Jewish, so they can oppress people that way.
Anybody slap somebody because they had a yarmulke on. I just haven't. Now they may experience it, but I haven't seen it. I have to look at right now from where we're at. We haven't even, and you're a lawyer, we haven't even looked at the prison system. And that system. And that system that has destroyed our community and has taken so many men from our community, take them far out cities that are, white cities, like in Michigan, anything across the bridge. They take these young men, put them up there and let them out the prison and put them to work in the community to clean up those communities. They use the numbers, to be included in their census numbers so that their little cities get more money. They use them to fund their families. So a lot of these prison systems, you see the same names, the son, the father, the grandfather, all working in the same prison, living off of the bodies that have been taken out of the city of Detroit and the city of Flint and these cities and sent to these places. So I'm not deceived to not think that that type of slavery is still going on, or because somebody has an instance of racism, that I'm going to ignore the total racism that I see coming from all cultures against our people. You know what I mean? To come in our communities and set up liquor stores and all these types of shops. And this one is over here selling wigs and being very disrespectful as they do it. You know, the dirtiest lots, the most rotten presentation that you can give a people. Man, this is crazy for us to even try to stand up and stand for somebody else when we look at all the mess that we're going through at the hands of so many vultures that are surrounding what we are as Black people in America, dead carcass. And these vultures are surrounding us, eating off of us. And, we're not going to be able to break out of this until we wake up and understand the power that each of us have within to change the conditions that we see. It doesn't mean hate anybody else, but it means love yourself enough to get up, love each other enough to lift each other up, love enough to do better, man. So those Black colleges are important. Black lawyers like yourself are important. Black businessmen are important. The Black pastors
Black ministers like you.
We all got to do it together to change this condition so that we can shake off this death that's all around us and really have what's called life.
Right. I know that's what Michelle Alexander talks about. I talk about this. I teach a class on law and African-American experience, and the new Jim Crow, like the prison industrial complex. That's why, when I was growing up and we talk about slavery, again, I was in a predominantly white environment. So the white folks were like, slavery was so long ago. No, we are currently being oppressed. And I mean, people are like, oh, for reparations, I don't know, how can we do it? No, I got a list. Okay. You can give money. We can get cash money. You can land. Black folk don't need to be paying taxes. Don't have to pay any, wipe out student loans, or don't have to pay for college tuition. Okay, I got a list. Okay, housing, employment support. It's like, if you can give money to other folk to go oppress other people, you can give money to us, because it's not just that we built this, we are building this country. We are a high number of the first responders. You go in the nursing homes, it's a majority Black folk, people of color. So it's kind of funny because you have some people, white people, that are racist. They get older, they go in the nursing home, and it's nothing but us. It's like, you're gonna have to learn to live with us, because we're here, we're not going anywhere. And and we are some of the most humane people on the planet. Like you said, we advocate for other people. And when we really, I'm not saying we shouldn't advocate for other people, but we should advocate for ourselves, self-love. I know Nicole Hannah-Jones talks about in the 1619 Project, like in her article, where she talks about when we work to liberate ourselves, we liberate the whole community, the women's movement, even gay folk. Everybody is benefiting, but we should be the first ones. We are the original people. We built this country, and then we're just left on the side. And God sees everything. And I'm a believer. God is not going to just let all this stuff, and it's Black Jesus. I got Black Jesus, because like you said, it's got to be a Black God. I got to see myself. Okay. He's not going to just let all this stand the way that it is,
It's almost like we're unconsciously being the fathers and the mothers of humanity. We're consciously trying to help everybody be better, and of course, when you look at Jesus, as you mentioned, Jesus, the story is so much similar to ours.
Right.
He was born in a manger, meaning he was born under poor circumstances. His mother was a single mother,
right.
And he was on the government's hit list since his day of birth, and then he was attacked by the Roman soldiers, which were the police of that time, and he was crucified unjustly. That's the story of any average Black person in America,
right.
Born under poor circumstances, not desired by the government, police brutality, and, all these things that we go through. But in the end, Jesus was exalted, because what did he say? He said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Black people have been a very forgiving people, and we forgive because we understand they know not what they do. But that is what's going to qualify us to be leaders in the end, and it's going to qualify us to be exalted. All we have to do is be strong, hold on, continue to feed ourselves knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, continue like you do to stay on the front lines of justice and continue to try to bring truth where falsehood has prevailed, and we're going to be all right. I'm very confident in that, and I'm very happy about that, and it makes me, it inspires me when I see the work that you're doing and those with you, because it makes me, and it should make everybody understand that we have to work on many different fronts. It's not just one way or my way or the highway, and you got to do it this way, but we are being affected in so many different areas. We have to have workers on every front. So I applaud you and I thank you for the work that you do and you continue to do.
Well, thank you. I applaud you well, and I as well. And I submit the reason that Jesus' story is so similar to our story is because that's our story too. Okay, they took our story, repackaged it, put it in the Bible, changed it, and it served it up to us. That's our story. Okay, that's Black Jesus. Okay, that's Black people. My parents had been in Egypt. They saw Black mommies with Black dreads. It was Black. It's all Black. So it's like. That's why it resonated so well with us, because it is us. Even I wrote my honors thesis about the interrelations of Blacks and Native Americans, about how we were able to come together and intermingle and build each other up. I submit because Ivan Sertimo wrote that book that came before Columbus, and they were talking about Africans that came here before slavery. I submit that there's the theories they talk about Native Americans coming from the Bering Straits, which I believe Asian folk, but there were Black folk here. So it's like, you see how dark some of the Native Americans are. And I have a great grandmother that was half Native American and was on the reservation. And so I submit the reason we are able to relate to people so well, the oppression of other folk too, is because we are them and they are us. It's a commonality. And so let's see, I have a couple more questions. I know we're coming up on time. What are your thoughts about the Biden administration as far as like, what are they getting right? And what, again, I'm a teacher, so I was looking at it as we teach in class, like what is the student doing well? And where are the areas where we can have some improvement?
Well, Sleepy Joe is doing, I believe, the best that he can do. I'm not one who is ingrained in politics in that manner, because I believe that each person should vote their conscience, number one. But I'm real enough to see, if you have a Republican administration in for so many years, then you have a Democratic administration come in and they try to reverse everything the Republican administration put forth. And it's just a lot of back and forth and a lot of red tape, So I think the best thing that Joe Biden did was to pick Kamala Harris as a running mate, Right. And in that aspect, what I'm seeing is, the same way that our brother Barack Obama tore down some of the borders that has been on the minds of Black people, is, concerning it, how far can I go in this country? He, tore some of those walls down. In the same sense, I think Kamala Harris has the ability to tear that down in women. So, I'm proud of that accomplishment, and I'm proud that took place. But as far as an administration goes, I don't think Democrat nor Republican. I don't think either has the best interests of Black people at heart. And I have to look at our people and I have to say, hey, man, we've seen politicians come, we've seen Democrats, we've seen Republicans. And if we're honest, we can look at our condition and see that the condition has not changed. So no cavalry is coming to change our condition for us. No presidential campaign, no governor can change our condition. No mayor can change our condition. It's up to us to change it for us. It's up to us to clean up our communities. It's up to us to create our own businesses. It's up to us to just do for self, not looking for programs or government handouts, because they're not coming. We have to do it. And it's just a matter of us trusting one another enough for me to share my $1,000 with you and you share it with me. And we start putting together things that can benefit us and benefit our families and our community. So the politics of it, I don't give too much, because I am a believer in the scripture. So I believe that, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. And when God's kingdom comes, he's going to sit down all the kingdoms that we see. So for us to put energy and effort and applause to these administrations of this world, a world that God said that he was dissatisfied with in every scripture, it ain't going, it's not going to matter what they do or what they don't do. I think that the bottom line is that we're going to have to do something for ourselves. We're going to have to depend on these churches. We're going to have to depend on our community organizations. We're going to have to, like you said, expanding the curriculum of our children as your parents did for you. Maybe you can't change the school system, but you can add some stuff at home, and you can start creating some more stuff at home. So that your children get a clear and better understanding of themselves and the route that they can go and how beautiful and special they are. It's, your father is an attorney.
Right.
And you're an attorney.
Right.
That's a beautiful thing. And that shows that he put something in you to build you up to that. Not just the financial part, because I'm sure he did that, but he had to put something in your mind to get your mind set to accomplish such an incredible feat. Well, we all are charged to do that with our own children. So we have to remake, our children are our opportunity to remake ourselves. It doesn't matter that I went to prison and I was shot when I was shot by the age of 17. Mm-hmm. But at 17 now, my son is finishing high school and he's in college now. You know what I mean? So I was able to further the development of my son. My daughters are all in college and educated. One is in Japan right now. 2 are in school. So, it's our role as parents to further develop the development of our children. Not looking for Joe Biden to do anything, because he can't relate. He doesn't know what I'm going through. He comes through and he talks when it's time. You know what I mean? Our mayor will come through and talk when it's time to get votes. But the bottom line is he can't do it for me. The governor, she can't do it for me. I have to do it for myself. I have to have a knowledge of laws, of rules, of policies. Our people don't have enough of that so that we know what policies that we need to work to change or to put energy behind. Right. I think like you come in, that's where people like me come in, to give an understanding of how government works. Because as people, we haven't understood. And I think this is true for all people. We don't understand how government works, so it doesn't work for us. So we usually vote for just the guy we like. My parents were Democrats, so I'm Democrat. My parents were Republican, I'm Republican. I think we saw how mindless people can be with the Trump administration.
Right.
He was pushing policies that didn't even benefit some of the more uneducated white people that supported him. Right. So I don't hold too much stock in the politicians. I don't look at what they do because they haven't done enough when it comes to the inner cities, the poor, and that's why the poor have stayed poor, and while the rich have continued to be rich. That's why the school systems have gone down. The educational platform has gone down. Healthcare is terrible for our elders. None of these things have changed under any administration. So I give all of them a thumbs down, and I look forward to helping to establish God's administration where everybody is treated justly and fair.
Right. No, I hear you. And I do think about where God was with my father being able to go to college. I mean, he came, the McCoys, we're from the South. We came from sharecroppers, from slavery to sharecroppers. My grandparents, they had 16 kids, and then coming up here, they had the first 8 down south, the second 8 when they came here. And then my dad, he didn't have any mentor. He watched Perry Mason on TV, and he decided he wanted to become a lawyer at the age of 8. And he went to Western, and then he went to U of M, got a master's degree, or he got a master's degree at Western. Then he also, so he's like in his 30s, he decides to go to law school, and he did it. And then I decided I wanted to be an actress at first. I was around Dynasty. I don't know if you're around during the Dynasty. I love Dynasty and Diane Carroll and Alexis and all that and then I said, because I was raised with this consciousness at the age of 14, I said, no, the brothers are in the system. I'm gonna become a criminal defense attorney. That's what I'm gonna do. And that's why, I talk with folks like Ben Crump, CK Hoffler with the National Bar Association. We talk about that's what they say. Actually, the new civil rights attorney is actually the criminal defense attorney, because we're helping predominantly brothers that are, there's some sisters in there, but brothers that are downtrodden, that are being, they caught up. They don't choose, their children. In growing up in environments, you don't choose your environment. You learn to survive. You learn to hustle, doing what you got to do. You get caught up in the system, you do your time, but then when you get out, you should be able, like, redemption. I know Kwame Kilpatrick is going to be speaking at Little Rock Baptist Church on Sunday. We wrote a letter for him to help support him being released. You make a mistake, but it should not be a death sentence. You should have redemption. That's part of why I'm doing it. I've been recruiting other attorneys, not just me, but we're doing expungement to try to help people clear up their, I'm having several, like every day I'll get calls from people who are like, Miss McCoy, can you help me? Or can you get somebody that can help me? I can't get a job. I can't advance on my job. And I'm like, that's unacceptable. We need to have it where people can get their records cleared. And then for those people who aren't eligible, the governor, I didn't say it before, I said it, she needs to be pardoning people. We need to be talking to her about pardons for people like you, pardons because you made a mistake in the past, but now you have redemption. You have redeemed yourself.
But now, beyond, you have to tap into what your father was tapped into, so that he doesn't make the mistake that we have to get expungements for. We have to tap into the mind where I can, whatever I can see, I can be. Whatever I want to achieve, I can make happen. We have to find out how to give that to our children so that we can create a brand new day. I don't know if you saw this. There was a documentary on Johnny Cochran, and they showed an older case when Johnny Cochran was hired to be the defense attorney. Okay. And it was a time where they wouldn't even allow him to question the white people that were being charged. So he had to ask the white attorney the question, and the white attorney would question the defendant. Okay. Was early on in Johnny Cochran's career. But then later, we see this televised event where he's, defending O.J. Simpson.
Right.
He used his mind in such a way to beat an all-star cast that was lined up against him. So it was showing just the mind of this brother and the way that he was able to articulate what he did. I think this is something that we have to expose our children to, so that they can, the chains can be unlocked in their mind.
Right.
Just saying your dad unlocked chains on your mind and your mother, we have to do it with all of our children so that they don't even get to the point where they have to have anything expunged. We don't need nothing from those people. We just got to treat ourselves right. And then we can start developing in a way that we really need to develop. And I think it all begins with love, love of self. And once you begin to love yourself, you love those who look like you, and you begin to treat those who look like you better. We have a long road to go, but I'm sure, because I believe in God, that we are the people of God. I believe that we are a chosen people of God. I believe that what solidifies our being chosen is that we now have to choose him and go on the right road. So, I'm excited about it. And I think that, as we continue in our efforts and expand our efforts to others, as you expand your efforts to other states and other attorneys, and I expand my efforts and those who are, in the work that we're doing, as we expand, I think you're going to see a change really begin to take place amongst our people. And I'm happy about it. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. Okay, so I want to thank you for coming on the show and talking with us. I'd love to have you come back and talk about some more of the dialogue and other issues. And if I'm listening to you now and I want to come to your mosque, like where do I go? Like when does your mosque, when do you have services, and how does that work?
Well, we usually have services every Sunday at 11 a.m. at 19160 Evergreen. But our services are down because of COVID right now. We're waiting on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to give us the go ahead to open back up. But you can catch me every week on 9:10 a.m. at 9:10 a.m., 10 o'clock every Sunday. I also do lecture on WHPR TV 33 every Wednesday at
Okay.
4:30 every Wednesday. So you can check me out on there. And, check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Troy Muhammad, and let's get it going. And I'll be there Sunday to hear our brother Kwame give his sermon.
Yes, I'm excited about that because, as I said, redemption is the word. That's the word. I mean, I look at this as like with the expungement, it's a redemption ministry. We got to just help folks. We got to get more folks out there, more lawyers out there to help redeem people and get the governor to pardon people. I know she's up for re-election. She worried about that, but she need to be, the other governors have pardoned people, so she could be pardoned people too. She can do it too. She'll get some votes that way. That's another way. All right, so you be blessed. The Honorable Minister Troy Muhammad, everybody.
No way is honorable. I'm just, I'm your brother, and I love you all. I love you and appreciate you. And thank you for this time. And I want to contribute and help with what you're doing. So thank you, Rob.
All right. Well, thank you. And I'm going to be out there. We Black women lawyers, we're going to be doing some stuff. So I'll be sure to send you some information. Right now, we're still virtual until further notice. I don't know. We might have to wait till the pandemic goes past us, and then we'll be in person, things like that. So you have a blessed day and week, and I'll talk with you later.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.